5, take 1 marker.
This is Direct Response Marketing Mastery, where 3 decades of proven experience has launched products, built brands, and generated profits. These are the stories behind the businesses that have been built.
We needed to work with a group that was really going to understand what it was about our service that was unique and why our members loved it.
Response television is such a better value to anybody doing product.
You get immediate results from your advertising, and that's what makes it work.
It has scaled our business beyond what we thought we would do this holiday season.
The only way to kickstart your business beyond what you think your expectations would have been anyway.
Script to Screen and M2 are as concerned about your product being successful as you are.
We want to deal with successful companies, and Script to Screen is certainly a successful company.
So our topic today is the 5 things you must embrace and master in order to turn lookers into buyers. Hey everybody, my name is Ken Kerry. I'm one of the co-founders here at Script to Screen, and we're going to talk about why these are so important in direct response. First thing is you must grab attention quickly. Now that is just more important than ever before because, we're competing with people on their phones. We're competing with multiple screens. We're competing with people multitasking. I know that when I'm at home, my wife and my daughter are multitasking. They're on their phone and they're watching TV and they're having a conversation at the same time. So that's why it's really important to get people's attention. So what we pride ourselves with here at Script to Screen is coming up with unique ways to catch people's attention. For example, one of the latest programs we we've produced is a teeth whitening product. And instead of talking about all the features of the teeth whitening product out of the gate and the benefits out of the gate, what we did was we had people use the product for about 30 days. And within that time, we got a really good, strong before and after. So what we did originally was we had people take their photographs and we put it on an iPad and they slid from the before to the after really quick. And we got their reaction and they went, "Oh wow," or "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." So many great reactions to how their teeth look before and after. And right out of the gate, we showed those before and afters, and we layered that with their amazement and just how they went over the top about how amazing they felt about how their teeth looked. And that gets people's attention. Not only did it get people's attention in the infomercial and the commercial that we produced, but we also took that concept into social media because, as you know, on Facebook and Instagram, you have even less time. As you're going through your feed, something's got to capture your attention. The first thing you see is that amazing before and after, and that bar sliding back and forth that shows dingy white, and it was so arresting that people would stop. So that was one of the tools that we used to get people's attention, and it worked. So I would say that the number one thing you need to do is grab people's attention. Number 2 is you must have a simple message. I can't accentuate this enough. You must have a simple message. Now I realize some products and services have detailed features and benefits and you want to say everything, and that's fine. But we really try to keep it just very minimal and very, very simple. I always say that if you confuse your audience, you're going to lose your audience. So you must keep it simple. So pick out exactly the unique selling point and exactly the feature and the benefits that are going to make the most impact to your audience and focus on that. If they need to get more information, let them go somewhere else and get more information. Keep your message simple and keep pounding that over and over again. When I say pounding it, I just mean ways of accentuating even more and telling it with stories and testimonials, other ways to support that. But keep that message simple because you want them to walk away with one simple concept about what your product or what your service does that's different than somebody else and why it's better. And you want to do it in a very simple, concise way. I just can't emphasize that enough, how important that is. Keep your message simple. Number 3 is you must think like your audience. My father-in-law always told me, and it's always stuck with me, he said, if you build a house that you like, the consumer will recognize it and let you keep it. Now, that analogy comes from the home building business, because if you're in the business of building homes, you want to build those homes, you want to sell those homes. But if you build homes that you like, the consumer may not like it and let you keep it, and that's not good as a home builder. Same thing with direct responses, same thing with commercials. You have to think like your audience. What does your audience want? And if you don't know, find out. Do polls, do interviews to find out everything you need to know about what your audience wants, and then create your selling message around what exactly they want. Again, if you're creating a message about what you want to hear, that may not be the most effective way to sell to your audience. Make your message be what they want to hear, and curtail your selling points to exactly to their needs. All these points are very important, but this one really is important because you have to really provide information about what your customer wants. Now, give me an example. We've done a lot of work in the past with Jake Steinfeld with Body by Jake. And Jake was such a master at this. Jake would he knew exactly what his audience wanted. And he had empathy to that, because when he was a younger child or a young man, he was a little out of shape. He wasn't the strongest guy in the room, and he kind of felt kind of scrawny, to be honest with you, and he would even say that himself. So that's why he really focused on physical fitness, and that's why he got strong, that's why he got healthy, because he knew what it felt to be like that way. So he curtailed his message to what his audience wants, because he knew his audience wanted to be fit, he knew their audience wanted to be in better health, but he could speak from empathy because he was there himself. So speak exactly in terms of the way that your audience wants, understand what they want, find out exactly what they want, and put your message to answer those questions. That's another one of the things that we do so well at Script to Screen, is we really think like our customer and make a compelling message that the customer wants, and when they want it, they're going to buy it. Number 4, it's really important as well, you must be seen as an expert. If you are selling a product or a service, you have to be seen, and you have to have that air about being the expert at what you're doing. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's makeup. I don't care if it's fitness. I don't care if it's a coffee machine. I don't care if it's skincare. You must be seen as the expert, and you must take that leadership role, because people want to buy from people who are experts, or people who know the answers, people who have the answers. So whatever you do, it's how you talk, it's how you position, it's the people that you bring in around you, and maybe you bring in some expert testimonials, and maybe you bring in experts that validate what you're saying, but you must be seen as the expert. People want to buy from the best, and you have to do everything you can to be the expert, portray your expert knowledge, and when you do that, people will feel comfortable, they'll trust, and they'll buy. And number 5 is tell a story. Now, you may not always be able to tell a story in what you're doing, but when you can, it's really important. Why? Because when you tell a story, it engages people emotionally, it engages people intellectually, it just engages people in so many different ways, and they can kind of paint a picture and put themselves in that scenario. So let me give you an example. Several years ago, we did an infomercial for the Tight Lights Fairway Wood, which is a golf club. And instead of just talking about all the features of this golf club and all the benefits of this golf club, what we were able to do was put together a story about how golfers at this training center in McKinney, Texas, were getting expert instruction. They were using these golf clubs to improve their game, and one of the clubs that they were using was the Tight Lights Fairway Wood. And as they got better as golfers, the Tight Lights Fairway Wood was part of that journey of being better. So we wrapped the whole story around this training center in McKinney, Texas, and how people would use this fairway wood and get better and lower their scores. And that was a story we told throughout the whole infomercial. So you understood that we didn't just make this club up out of nowhere. There was some heritage behind it. There was a story behind it. And people's personal experiences behind using the club made it that much more enjoyable and that much more effective as a selling message and as a golf club for them. So that was one way that we did a story. Another way that you could tell a story is most recently we worked on a campaign for Keurig. Matter of fact, that campaign is on the air right now. And Keurig had a story to tell that a lot of people didn't know. how can such amazing coffee be come out of this little pod, this little K-cup? Well, instead of just saying it's great coffee, we told the story of, where the beans were from, the partners like Starbucks and Caribou and Dunkin' Donuts and Pete's and all these amazing roasters, how they trusted their beans to Keurig, and then how they roasted them and how they grinded them and put them into the K-cup, and how each one is specifically made for each K-cup, and then how the water temperature and the extraction process into the K-cup made an amazing cup of coffee. We had to tell that story that people didn't know. So instead of just saying we make great coffee and we partner with great people, trust us, you love our coffee, we told the story about how great that coffee was and what its origins were and the partners behind it and the quality of it. Therefore, when somebody looked at that K-cup, they understood that a lot went into this cup, and that story got them connected on an emotional level. So again, whatever you can do, tell a story. It really helps you connect with your customer. I hope these are helpful, and I hope these direct response marketing mastery shows are helpful to you. So if you'd like more information about how direct response can help build your business and scale your business, go to scripttoscreen.com, and we'll have a lot more information for you there. Thanks for joining.